rebel group of against the architecture school was fighting. And they found this old abandoned bus station. And that's where all the crazy people went, right? Nobody can pronounce, called Tongji. We also had the myth that China is primitive and nothing working. Somehow you make a mistake. And now you get something you didn't expect. The AI is using design. If I design the smart object, then the object is not smart because maybe the cup has intelligence.
We're so privileged and to have our guest here. He's a former Harvard University professor. We wrote a book together. His name is Kostas. He has a Chinese ID card. Kostas spent his a lot of lifetime in Shanghai, in China.
Yeah, we came to China, which was the best time to come to China, which is a big deal. And we came to Pudong, actually, because that was a hotel, a service apartment for until we find a house. I was so amazed. Everything was so advanced, so interesting, so different than we would thought that we were going to find. We also had the myth that China is primitive and nothing working, and because that's what we were told, and we never had. I mean, I knew a little bit more, but still, it was actually primitive in the early 2000s that I was coming here. But in 2017 that I came, it was very advanced, more advanced than America.
Especially in Pudong.
Especially in Pudong and especially in Shanghai. So anyway, the point is that we came here. It was the best decision, I would say, that I ever made because it was the right time, right place, right people. And I'm still here. That's the proof of the thing. My knowledge was in the area of computer-aided design and software and algorithmic design. At that point, when I came, was something called parametric design, which basically is similar to CAD. You just do parameters instead of specific elements. But then AI showed up, and so my background and my PhD was AI, so that was perfect for me because I knew exactly what's going on and how they work and all the techniques behind it. So I adapted that area in what we call AI design. And my wife is into entrepreneurship, which is more like practical, which is much more, I would say, Chinese-oriented, which they always want to make something out of practical things. So she's more interested in how you take an idea, a design idea, and make it into a business, or how you make a business who doesn't have design to be design-oriented. So it's kind of like a interesting match. I'm not into the practical side. I'm more into the AI side and how AI becomes a new way of approaching design, which is a philosophical argument more than a technical argument. And that is something that we're debating now. We're writing papers. We're trying to establish a position. We try to ask, the other faculty what their opinion is. We make panel discussions. We do conferences. We do everything we can to make a point because we have a different opinion about what AI design is. Most people think of AI design as just design using AI, which I don't think that is true. I think the same problem occurred when I was in America when they're talking about computation. And they thought computation is when you use a computer. That's not true. Mm-hmm. Computation is when you write code, which is not using. You're actually interacting with the computer. The computer is part of your work. You are inside the computer. Mm-hmm. It's not you're outside and you're telling the computer what to do. That's computerization. I'm just a normal designer, and I'm using the computer to do the things I would do anyway. I'm just doing it more fast and more efficient. That's computerization. Computation is when you actually get and write the code and you do things that you don't expect. For example, you write the code to do a building, but then somehow you make a mistake, or somehow you do something that is not what you expected, or somehow you put a random process intentionally to modify the whole thing. And now you get something you didn't expect. That's computation. It's very different things.
So computation is not about the mathematics thing.
The mathematics is just a tool.
So computation, from my perspective, is about like a project?
Yeah, a computation is a project that involves two sides. One is the mental, the coding, and the other side is the application, the production. So you have a screen that has the code, and you type things or ideas that you have, and you have to rationalize the ideas, put them into a code one-by-one instruction, and then you press the button and run it, and then you get to see something. And usually what you expect to see on the other side is something that is close to what you wrote, right? But writing something with words is different from thinking about it. In your mind, it's a little bit messy. But when you have to use the word, you have to find the right word to put it. And that right word has to match the code, which is very rational. You cannot say things are vague. That rationality gets reflected into a vision, into a display, into a form, a building, a object, a product, right? And usually you expect to see what you had in mind, but it's not going to be the one in your mind because the code modifies that. It makes it more rational. Eventually you see the thing that you want, which is not exactly what you want. Now, you can take this series of text, which we call code, and you can say, okay, what if I switch one word? What if I change the parameter here? Or what if I put a random process? In other words, do this, but sometimes do that without telling me. And then you see the product being twisted, changed. And sometimes this twist could be very beneficial because you see something very different, very much more interesting.
And then you're not expected.
Right. And then you have this argument to yourself. Is it mine? Or is it not mine? I mean, yeah, I did it, but it's not what I expected. So it's not mine in the sense that I predicted it, right? But it's mine because I was the only one in the room.
I operated.
Yeah, I operated the software or whatever the thing is. So that is in the CAD world, in the computational. I call this computation, as opposed to like, I already know what I'm going to do. I'm scanning a building or a product, and then I just digitize it. And now that's not computation, that's computerization. Okay. Now, the same thing happens now with AI. There's AIization, and then there's AI design, which are very different things. Okay. And people kind of confuse the things because it's much more convenient to confuse because it's more.
They never thought about it.
Yeah. I mean, most people think of it because it makes sense, right? I was doing design, and now there's AI, so I'll just use AI to do design. That's what the word says, AI design. So it means that I use design to, but that's not necessarily true. It could be the other way around. The AI is using design, and not you. It's not your design. It's the AI's design, right? You can play the words together. And then, after all, the question is, what is AI anyway in the first place? It means that it's an artifact, something, an object, whether we create it, and then there's intelligent into it. It's a smart object, right? That's not me. That's the object is smart. And that designs. So am I designing the smart object? If I design the smart object, then the object is not smart because I'm controlling it, right? It's smart when it can do its own decisions. If it does its own decision, it's not mine. So there's this kind of like, then whose is it, right? And who is responsible for the design if the design is not mine, if I don't control, right? It's the same argument that you had in computation, but now you have it in a much more advanced version because now the object, which we don't think of it as intelligent, we think objects are just, a cup. A cup cannot decide. A cup is just for me to drink, right? But no, maybe the cup has intelligence because why? Number one, may not intelligent be embedded in the form of a chip. Like, I make it intelligent because I give it the ability to do things. Like, so now it can warm itself. It can allow me to drink or not drink because I drink too much coffee. That it's intelligent. It makes decisions for me. That is a smart cup. I want to drink more. No, you won't drink because you drink too much. It's intelligent, right? It's following some instructions, okay? And these instructions make it appear to be intelligent to me, okay? That is one version of it, okay? Then there is the other version that the cup doesn't make decisions on its own, but it becomes responsible for me to make decisions because of it. So its existence affects me as intelligent. I'm intelligent, okay, fine. I mean, I have the ability to move things around. I am able to take the cup and move it up. The cup cannot do it on its own, okay? But the cup can make me do it somehow. That's the idea. So now AI becomes the ability of the thing to control me. I'm not controlling the cup. The cup is controlling me. It's strange, but it's very, very primitive. At the same time, it starts to make sense in a different context. Okay, so let's say you have like notes, and the notes makes music, right? Now, if you take these notes and you control them, you make your own music, right? I want to make this music. It's in my mind. I found the notes. I make it. It's not exactly what I wanted, but I'm in control of the notes, right? But now let's say the notes randomly change position. And every time they play the music, you hear it, okay? Every time it's ridiculous. Like, this is stupid music, stupid. But one time, it's a good one. One time, out of like 1,000. Remember the permutation problem? So this is good music. Now, this music is not my music because I didn't do it. It was randomly picked, okay? But it's good. And it's better than mine. Question is, who made it? Where did it come from?
Yeah, who's the author?
So the random did it. Now, what is the random? Well, the random is not AI. It's an artifact. We created the randomness, but it has intelligence because it produced a intelligent result, which is a beautiful melody, right? So it's not a cup, but it's an abstract cup. It's a entity, an abstract entity that is artifact. We created the randomness, the random processor, right?
It's a phenomena.
It's a phenomenon, right? It's a phenomenon that actually has a result, and the result is intelligence. So if that is the case, my argument is that this is a proof of intelligence, which is not mine. So there is intelligence outside of me, okay? And AI proves it, in this case, through the incorporation of randomness. Randomness in itself is an entity, exists. You can call it God did it. You can call it like it was the wind. We can tell like the fire made this happen, right? That's random events. But are they? How do we know? How do we know there's no intention behind it? We don't. We think so because we always judge it based on our own understanding. We think that if it was intelligent, it should talk to me, or it should behave the way that I expect because it should be like me. No, it doesn't have to be like you. It can still be intelligent, but it has to be like you. In fact, the opposite is true. These things sometimes control you. Like the fact that there's wind today makes you stay home. So who is controlling, you or the wind? The wind controls me, right?
So
in a strange way. So, but who controls the wind? We don't know. We don't know. We don't know. Let's go back to the Tongji kind of the DNI thing, okay? Because, like I said before, the school is a very promising place because it's very open to innovation, right? One of the major problems in Western world is that innovation is always connected with money. And the universities don't have money, and therefore they don't produce too much of innovation. They are always looking for a benefit, which is more like a personal benefit. China has a little bit more flexibility in doing things that don't necessarily have an immediate personal benefit. And it's also under some control. So when you do things, there's a maximum of how much money you can make, and there's no reason to make too much money, which the West doesn't have a limit. Like either they're billionaires because they had a good idea, but that's ridiculous. Why do you need $1 billion? It's like too much money. You don't need that. I mean, it's kind of like, and people don't get it. They think that that's a good thing. They admire people who are billionaires. I think they're stupid. I mean, this doesn't make any sense. I mean, I have enough money to survive and to be to have a good life. 10 million is enough. 20 million, okay. 1,000 million? Why do you need that much? Or 1,000 or trillionaire? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, why is that a success? That's stupid. That's the opposite effect. The innovation that is happening in the school in China is much more pure. So it's not about money. It's about doing good ideas. So it may make money, may not make money, but it's because I like to do it. So it makes me be more creative. I don't do it because I want to, benefit myself personally. That produces like animosity, produces like enemies, competition. No reason. We can all be together. That's why I like China, because one of the big things is that people work together, which is not the case in America. In America, they always work alone, and they always compete with one another. And when they work together, it's because of money. They don't have a pure incentives to work because of some pure non-materialistic reason. And that, I think, is a big benefit of China. It's a we culture, not a I culture, like a WeChat culture, not an iPhone culture. I keep saying that. And that has a lot of consequences in the life of the people. My observation will come from a Greek in China. So maybe people don't agree with me. Maybe I'm too idealistic. Maybe I think of China too much because I like it, are more critical about their own society. That's okay. I mean, but I'm just giving you my opinion, which I'm comparing it to the West, which I know pretty well, especially the Greek culture, which is very, very different, almost opposite of Chinese culture. And yet I can see many, many benefits and many, many virtues in the Chinese society, which probably the Chinese cannot see because they're living inside a society that it's hard to see when you're living inside. It's like a fish in the water. You cannot see. You're into your own thing. But people from outside, they can see differently. So being in Tongji, I realized that the innovation is true innovation. So the word innovation is not just a word they use to attract people or to attract resources or to make money. It's something that they really believe into. And all the faculty that I've been working with, they're all very humble and very interested in ideas, and they actually help. And if I have an idea, they are ready to debate and to get into a conversation because they're interested in what I said or I'm interested in what they say. So this is a very healthy.
You mean the atmosphere is like a teamwork?
Yeah, I think so.
Especially in the United States, individualism,
right.
like sabotage, something like that.
Exactly. It represents itself very well in politics. So much politics. Why? Because they are so selfish. They think their idea is better than the other, and they don't get to understand that it's all a win-win, like both of us can win. They think like, oh, if I win, you lose. Or if you lose, I win. Like, that's stupid. That's not even true. Because ideas are not materialistic. They always think of it like, oh, it's a matter of money. If I take your money, then you don't have money, because they think it's like a zero sum. Like I take, you get. When I take, you lose. In China, you can win and I can win together. That's a win-win.
Yeah, yes. But that's in China. It's called the Taiji. The Taiji,
right.
The black, the white, the dot, black dot in the white, and the white dot in the black.
Right. That's even better. Chinese know how to define things through the opposite, because they know that there is for the good, there is bad. So you cannot have good without bad. And that's very, very important, because we usually don't see the other side. We always have a idea that things are one way, and you take it or leave it. But to know something, you have to know the other side. The other side sometimes is a establishment of the first side. This school that we came is a very interesting school, because it's not a traditional, engineering school, architecture school. It's called Design and Innovation. And there's a reason why it's called Design and Innovation, the second part being the most important. It is a spin-off of the School of Architecture. It is very similar to what the Media Lab was in MIT. It's a very famous school. Because the School of Architecture in the 1990s, actually, was fighting with one another, because there are a lot of people who want to do stuff that was not architecture. And like, for example, gaming, and at that time was VRML or CAD, computer-aided design, and the architects didn't want that. So Neroponte, which was the dean of the school, in charge of this rebel group of against the architecture school, he talked with the university. They made a new school, a new building, and they called it the Media Lab. And that's where all the architects who were not happy went. Something similar happened to Tongji. In 2008, there was the school, the College of Architecture and Urban Planning, CAUP. And that school is very, very famous, very big in size, and it's responsible for all the buildings that are being constructed in China, which is a humongous amount of, and they're very, very into building things and urban planning, huge cities. They're making buildings, high rises, skyscrapers, a lot of work, everything about building. And of course, there is always a group of people who are different, and they want to do things that are not per se building. They want to do, let's say, tools for building. They want to do VRML, how you look into a building. They want to do, gaming, which has a lot of buildings in it, and you have to move around. And so that's architecture in a way. I mean, it's not physical architecture, but it's virtual architecture. And these people are unsatisfied because the other old faculty didn't want to change they don't know what it is, and they don't want to change because building is more successful in their life. So the dean, the president of the university said, how about we just make another school? So they looked around and outside of the campus, and they found this old abandoned bus station. And they took it, and they basically asked the dean of the school at that time, which was Wu. He was the first dean, and then Lo, who actually took over from Wu. Both of them, they made this new school, which they called Design Innovation. And that's where all the crazy people went, right? All the people who wanted to do Fab Lab, the one who wanted to do gaming, the one who wanted to do interaction. And we call it design school because it was more towards the design kind of direction, although it was a spin-off of architecture school. And these people turned out to be a success. And the school was one of the best. At some point, it ranked in number, I think, 11 in the whole world, which is a big deal. When I came, it was probably 30, 40. So it became better, and more people came in. We did more things, we did more research, and then we reached number 10. 11 or whatever, and then it's actually we're in the top with all the other schools, which is for example, Italy, like Milano, Politecnico di Milano, very big deal, or Aalto in Finland, or the Art Center in Pasadena, California. We're talking like international schools, and we're in that group, which is a big deal for a school university that nobody knew, nobody can pronounce, called Tongji. Okay, so we became DNI. That is a big deal, and I was very happy to be there because I contributed as much as I could.